And welcome back to the Film Reel Cast. I'm Stuart, I'm your host, and we are back in Farmington for episode 11, Carnivores, season 1 of The Shield. Before we get into this episode, please click on the subscribe button and notifications, and you won't miss an episode. Leave some comments down below of what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see changing, anything new that you'd like me to review or talk about, and that would just be fantastic. We've also got the audio podcast on iTunes and on Android, all good platforms. You can look for these logos here and click on subscribe. I've just changed the logo and it's kind of filtering down to various podcast platforms, and it's the Film Reel Cast. If not, it'll be on the old format of the kind of, as you sit in the corner there. So just click on there, click on subscribe, and you won't miss an episode. Over 100. We've just done Halloween, which should be out soon. We are next doing RoboCop, the 1987 classic. Can't wait to review that. We've got James on the podcast. We've just invited Neil along and Paul as well. So there's 4 of us, 4 different opinions, no doubt, talking about RoboCop coming up. So click on subscribe. Okay, again, subscribe to this podcast. Please subscribe and share. That's all I want you to do. I want to get many people as I can involved in talking about The Shield, talking about Cobra Kai, another thing that I'm reviewing. I've just started season 2 and I'm loving it. A fantastic, nostalgic series on Netflix. I'm really, really enjoying that. So as I say, click on subscribe and it'll be great to have you on board. Okay, let's get on with episode 11, season 1 of The Shield, called Carnivores. Okay, the episode starts with Rondell and Kern Little. You remember them from earlier on in season 1. They're driving along discussing a drug deal when unknown persons go by and shoot the shit out of their vehicle. Thankfully, it's got bulletproof glass, but we do not know at this current time who is responsible, and none of them are hurt. But waiting for them is Vic. Vic is waiting for Rondell's 50k so he can buy some cocaine. Once he buys that cocaine, Kern and Rondell will be the ones selling it, and in turn, Vic will make more money. So these are pawns to Vic. Remember, Vic has no loyalty. He doesn't give a shit that they got their car shot up. All he wants is that money so he can sell those drugs. But that didn't happen. So Rondell has got to find 50k for Vic. So Danny and Julian go to what they think is a normal burglary. When they get there, they find an Asian family. The wife has been killed and the husband has had his feet, both feet, nailed to the floor. And they think it's going to be a gang, but they can't see any gang signs, any gang graffiti inside the house. So they're a bit kind of puzzled at the moment as to who's responsible for this. And a short while later, another break-in happens. And again, people are killed. Everyone's killed. And from the first one, the guy's so ashamed of what happened that he kills himself. And you find out why he's ashamed. One of the witnesses says that his Xbox got taken and the guy responsible is his own cousin. His own cousin has killed his family, has killed his own auntie and uncle for the sake of stealing the money he knew was in the mattress, because the Asian community don't trust the American banks to deposit their money in. So he killed them so he could get the money so he could go and buy jewellery, Xboxes, TVs, drugs, food, drink, anything. And Dutch is having a hard time believing that his own member of the family, because he's saying that the Asian community is very close, that they wouldn't do this, it doesn't feel right. And Claudette says you're off your game, and Dutch believes he is because he didn't get the credit for putting a serial killer away who killed 22 people and would have killed more. And due to not getting the rub on the tummy or the pat on the head, that he's off his game. But it's Claudette is leading this investigation and believes that it is a family member. So they've got the picture of the young lad, and it's proven that he's responsible when they get a call that he has gone into a jeweller's and bought shitloads of gold chains. It's like a Mr. T walking in on a shopping spree. They bought loads of jewellery. And they know that the guy is responsible, the cousin is. And it makes Dutch feel even worse that he's off his game. So we see the Nation of Islam. Rondell says the Nation of Islam is responsible for shooting his own car earlier. So we meet a guy called Xavier Salam, who is the leader of the Nation of Islam. And he said that Rondell did it. And he said that Rondell did it with little fear from being arrested from the police. which is surprising. And he questions Vic as to why people have no fear of you. It's as if they're working for you and you're working with them to rule the streets, which is obviously what is happening. And Vic's shocked that this guy is clever. He's very wary of him. This Xavier has worked him out straight away. So much so that they go to the barn and they refuse to move from the front office of the barn until appropriate action's taken and the gangs are removed from the streets. And he tells Acevedo that your officers are working. I'm refusing at the moment until I'm sure to name names, but your officers are protecting these drug dealers. And Acevedo knows this, and Acevedo has a little spark in his eye as to possibly I could use this to get Vic off the street. But Xavier isn't naming anyone. He just wants these drug dealers gone. And at this current time, you wonder what his agenda is. Is he a dealer as well, and he wants his competition removed, or does he just genuinely want the drug dealers removed from the corner of the streets? So Acevedo goes to see a lady who was accused of raping. And you soon learn that he did go with her in college and they were in a sexual relationship. But he turned her down because she was a bit kinky. And he told his friends of the kind of things that she liked. And then unknown to him, later on in the evening, his friends went by and they gang raped her. And she blames Acevedo for this. So we learn that Acevedo is not responsible, which is fantastic. But this lady's got a real vendetta against him. And he goes back to see her again. And he tries to talk to her again because he's worried about, he's running for council, remember, and he can't have this coming up in the press. If he can smooth this over, great. And this lady's tape recording the conversation. She's trying to twist the words and get him to say it just for pure vengeance and payback. And it can make a good story and she'll get money for it as well. But he's wise to this, finds a tape recording, and she basically backs down and admits that I wanted you and I loved you, and it's a personal vendetta, it's vengeance against Acevedo because he didn't go with her in the end. So Rondell, in his infinite wisdom, does a drive-by and shoots one of the Nation of Islam. They go to Vic and they ID him. The next thing you see is Rondell in the barn telling Vic that he's frightened and he needs to be here for protection. And Vic says, I can't help you. You're a drug dealer. You're a wanted man. Everyone knows you're a drug dealer. I can't be seen with you. And as he leaves, he turns to Vic and says, if I go down, I'm taking you with me. No one threatens Vic. No one's threatening his team. No one threatens his family. Shouting this out in front of everyone is putting the nail in Rondell's coffin. Not the final one. That comes a bit later on. But he's sealing his fate, threatening Vic. And you can see it by the look on Vic's face. No one gives him an ultimatum, especially a drug dealer. There's a really powerful scene where Julian and Danny get called to a disturbance at a kind of a Sweet 16 party. And when they get there, there's a gunman who's shooting people. And they make chase, and Julian goes around the back, and he corners this young kid who's got the gun. And he's pointing at the gun at Julian. And Julian holsters his own weapon and basically says to the kid, go on, shoot me. If you want to shoot someone, shoot me, kill me. And again, this kid is really fucked up, as in, why is this policeman telling me to kill him? And why is he not drawing his gun to kill me? So he just gives him his gun, but it's a reflection of where Julian is mentally. Remember, Julian is punishing himself because he's gay. And he's disgusted with himself because he's gay. And he's gone to a church where they're going to change his attitude and his sexual awareness, as in to become heterosexual. But they're going to do that by beating him, by Julian punishing himself. So Julian's trying to punish himself by getting himself killed. He hasn't got his bulletproof vest on. And Danny finds this out, and Danny says, do you want to die? Because if you want to die, I'm with you. My life is affected by yours when we're out patrolling together. That's just how fucked up Julian is at the moment, and how confused he is. And that how he believes that being homosexual is wrong, which obviously needs to be addressed. And it's something that is a credit to this series of what people are going through with other people's perceptions and how they feel they got to deal with it because they can't come out and admit their own sexuality. And it's credit to this series for doing that. But Julian just needs to admit that he is gay and there's nothing wrong with that, and let people help him and embrace that. So we're introduced to a new drug dealer called Tio. Tio's working alongside Kern and he's dealing drugs for him. But the problem is he's saying that Kern Little and Rondell are using their own supply, which isn't good. And they're getting out of hand and they're using Vic's name as protection to get away with more. And they're sprouting Vic's name around the streets to say they're protected. Obviously Vic can't have that because he's a cop and he's got Acevedo on his back to be taken down. So Vic is not happy. And what he does, he strikes a deal with Tio to get Rondell out the picture. And that is the final nail in the coffin. He says that I will give you 50k, the 50k that Rondell fucked up earlier, that I will give you that. And in giving him that money, Rondell's finished. He's had it. And he says to Tio, let the streets take care of Rondell. He goes, I'm not going to touch him. No one touches him. I'll put the word out. Without any protection from me, the streets will take care of him and eat him up. So Dutch and Wims do a warrant and they arrest every single member of that Asian family's gang. They're sitting there playing the Xbox. They've got jewellery, they've got beer, they've got drugs, they've even got girls there. They've got food. They're just pissing all of that money away. And they've killed their family to get it. And it's only material things. And I think this is a representation of the millennial generation, that they're not willing to work for anything. They just want it now. And this is an extreme example of this, that he's killed his family. But to me, that's what they're kind of showing, that this generation are just want, and they want it now. So it ends with the streets taking care of business. And they've done it in the way that the police find Rondell dead, shot multiple times down an alley. And that's him out of the picture. Tio's now taking control and dealing the drugs and the supply. And that's just how much Vic cares about these people. They're just pawns in a game. As long as he's getting that money, as long as he's getting that drugs delivered on the streets and taking down the competition, that he's happy. But if there's a problem, he'll just have that person killed. And there's always another drug dealer. There's always another user to come in. And as Tio says, if they move corners, the users will follow where the drugs are. And Vic knows that. So that was episode 11. That was Carnivores. A good episode. We've introduced a new character, Tio, into the world of drug dealing. And he plays quite a major part, obviously, until he meets a sticky ending. So, which probably won't surprise you later on. But yeah, it's a good episode. It flows pretty well. Dutch is going to get back on his game sooner or later, when there's more serial killers to come. But I enjoyed that. Flowed pretty well. Not a lot happened, but it introduced new characters and the dynamics, and it kind of added another piece in the jigsaw of the gangs on the streets. Okay, subscribe to this. Again, we've got the audio podcast as well. We've done really, really well. We've nearly had 20,000 downloads of our audio podcast, and I thank everyone who's done that. And if you could just subscribe, I just want to make this YouTube channel as successful as possible, and I can only do that if you subscribe and leave your feedback. Okay, I'm Stuart, this is the Film Broadcast, and thank you for watching.